What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the Reseller Greatness Podcast. We got my main man, Josh, in the building. And Josh has a very, very successful business, and he has extremely high goals for next year. Tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe how you got started a little bit, and what is the grand plan, the master plan, my man, to get to $1 million next year?
Not dollars, mate. We've got to go for pounds. A bit more.
It
Um,
is a bit more. It's about what, $1.3 million dollars?
Around that, it's change. It doesn't matter. But no, yeah, I'm based in Wales. It's just on the side of England. I've been doing eBay for a long time. I think I worked it out last night. 2011 is when I sold my first item. So I was I was maybe 19, 20. Um, it's been quite a journey from there to get to where I am now. Um, but yeah, I've enjoyed every part of it, and that's what I say to everyone: enjoy the ride, because like when you get to the top of that mountain, you don't really enjoy it as much as you thought you would. So yeah, I've had so many different variants of an eBay business. I've had up to a 15,000 item store. I used to be the number one seller of neckties once upon a time.
Oh, big flex right there. Big flex.
Mate, I thought that was going to make me millions, but until you realize there is a cap to how many neckties you sell, and I was the only one who was selling them, so I couldn't take it any further. But yeah, there's been many iterations. There's been ups. There's been a lot of downs. Um, and yeah, I find myself here today speaking with probably the most successful guy in history of eBay.
I appreciate that, man. And I appreciate you always. You always ask pertinent questions. You always ask the right questions. And the thing that I appreciate the most about you is that you have a sense of urgency that not many other people have, because you understand the tremendous opportunity that eBay has. And I understand it fully. And I think you might be neck and neck with the people that do understand the opportunity that we do have. And I feel like a lot of people just let it go through their fingers. And I think one day a lot of people are going to have conversations about what they could have done, should have done, what they could have done a little bit differently. And as you said, enjoy the ride. But there will be a day when this ride is over for many people. So, as I say a couple of times here and there, we have to be looters in a riot, and we have to get as much as we can while we can, because the times always change. And you've been around for 14 years or so. It's changed a lot in 14 years, and I think that the change is going to be accelerated in the next 5 years, and then in the next 10 years. And a lot of people listening to this podcast, unfortunately, will not be enjoying the ride. That is my personal belief. And I think you are one of the ones that subscribe to that notion the most. And let's just say we're wrong. You and I are both going to end up ahead of everybody else than the
Yeah.
people that are taking it easy, in cruise control, doing their thing.
Yeah, that's the thing that honestly it gets me out of bed every morning. The fear of this not being here tomorrow. And we need to get as much out of it as we can, because look, it might sound harsh, but I think a lot of people are waiting to be put out of business. And I mean that with the greatest respect, that they it's not going to be instant. It's not going to be one thing that puts them out. It's going to be the postage increases, the eBay fees increases, AI's coming. Like that's the biggest thing that I don't fear it, because I'll embrace it and I'll incorporate it in my business. But mate, there's going to become a time where somebody takes a photo of something and there's a little a little blurb where you click on it and it shows you all the sold history on that. You'll do that on maybe even on Google Images. You'll be able to see the sold data. So the item is then not going to end up at the rag. It's not going to end up at the car boot sale. It's going to end up online, because there'll be one click. They'll give them options where to sell it, Vinted, eBay, boom, and it's done. The AI
I,
has done the
I
work
think
for them.
so.
So I think, like you said, having the mindset of this might not be here tomorrow. And like I speak to Alan quite a lot, and we speak about this. If it is here tomorrow, like we're winning again.
Sure.
Do as much as we can now, and then enjoy the rewards of it later, but with the knowledge that it might not be here. And I think having that mindset, it drives you, mate. It drives, like I said, it drives me to get out of bed every morning and put 110% in.
I subscribe to that as well. And I think that, if you do have that urgency also, you have to kind of fight it from both ends, because eBay is a very patient game as well. So you've been doing this for over a decade. It takes time. A lot of people get started with this and think that it's get rich quick or it's overnight success. But you run a very, very successful business, and it took several years to do it. And, now you have a plan to, try to knock down, 1.3 US next year, or, £1 million next year. But that doesn't happen without the urgency. It doesn't happen without planning. It doesn't happen without 24/7 obsessive, meticulous thoughts. And sometimes you'll write me and I do like the time calculation, and it'll be like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, okay, this guy is still up. He's stewing. He's got something on his mind that's driving him. So, like, what gives you that drive? Where do you find that drive? Is it something external? Is it something that you're born with? Like, where do people get the killer instinct from? Because, like I said, and like, I don't say this to gas you up, like, you are probably the closest in terms of mentality of how urgent I am with all of this, how finite I believe all of this is, and the amount of drive that you have.
Well, like I'll go back and like if I go back, it'll give sort of an insight on my story. So I used to be a builder, I used to be a bricklayer. So the climate here, we get probably 3 good months a year, and the
Okay.
rest of it is rain and cold. So when you've done that kind of job outside in all climates, it makes this look easy. And like I've dug holes, I've laid foundations, I've built walls in -3, and it puts this into perspective that how you can make £1,000 a day, £1,500 a day, whatever, for I'm not saying little input because it takes a lot, like you said, a lot of planning, putting everything in a row, getting all the stock to come in, getting it all processed. It's a big, well-oiled machine, but it's a lot easier than digging holes. Like I know you say that,
Yes.
like it fully clicked to me when you said that. I was like, I used to do that as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so the drive has never been an issue. Like I've got 2 young kids. I want to give them everything. Like don't get me wrong, I had a really good upbringing, good childhood, but I want to create something. And like I'll go year there and everywhere with this conversation. But something Hanley said to me about a year ago, maybe 18 months ago. She said she wants to create generational wealth. And like I kind of laughed it off. I thought that's just a tongue-in-cheek comment. And then I actually thought about what that means. And she was deadly serious as well. I
Absolutely.
later realized, and I thought, well, I could do that as well. Do you know what I mean? What the only thing that's stopping me is me. So from that point is like you said, this whole game, this whole eBay game doesn't come overnight. It takes probably 3 years planning to get to where I want to go next year now. But from a drive point of view, the kids are a massive drive. Don't miss anything with them. I don't miss absolutely anything. Like I do my work before they're awake, when they're in school, and when they go to bed. So I don't miss anything. But they're a massive drive. But to try and that generational wealth thing that Hanley said, like that kind of changed my whole life and my whole output on what I'm trying to do there and then because this opportunity, like I just wish if one thing comes across to people is how good this opportunity is, and it's not going to be there for much longer. But from a drive has never been a problem. When you've done crap jobs, like I used to, I used to do the bricklaying. I used to get paid £60 a day, and that would be out to the house from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then I'd go and deliver Domino's pizzas from 6:30 till midnight, and then I would do whatever I was doing on eBay, midnight till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And it was back in the times, mate, where there's no label printers. You're writing a manifest for Royal Mail. They were the only courier. So you'd have a sheet. And sometimes it was like, if it was on a Monday, there'd be 60 parcels to go. And they've all sold 99 pence auction because I didn't know anything different. There was no sold listings to check comps. So I used to buy things based on whether I thought it was cool. And that was my only metric. So I used to go around to car boot sales, pay £1, I'd sell it for 99p. Right? I'd lose money. I'd then have to write the whole addresses out for 60 of these orders on a manifest, pack them one by one. No mailing bags. It would be paper and tape. And like I've never had much sleep. That was probably 2 or 3 hours sleep then, and I wasn't making any money. So the no sleep now is not a problem. I just always wanted to work for myself. Do you know what I mean? I never wanted to
Mm-hmm.
answer to someone. Um, so from a drive point of view, that's never been an issue for me.
I've said it before, like, so I've dug my fair share of holes, and dare me to list on eBay. Like, no problem. Like, dare me to list on eBay rather than dig holes. And I think that it is, a very easy decision to make. So your business from selling items that are 99 cents, having no metric, maybe making 50 cents, maybe losing $1, maybe losing two, to getting a good grasp of the business where you have a fundamental understanding of everything that's going on inside and out, and you can build a very nice business that does several $100,000 a year with a full understanding and very, very profitable. Kind of what has changed in between of that time in order for you to be in the position that you are in today? Because I think a lot of people, they are in the position where they're the 99 cents free shipping on auction. I started there as well. Like that's the best way to start. And then you kind of learn and develop your business and pick up things along the way, and hopefully get to the point where you have a business like yours that is very successful, selling a lot of items, a nice average sale price, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in sales, and you're bringing home enough money to take care of everybody, and life is good.
Yeah, like I said, there's been many iterations of it. That was the very start where we used to do 99 pence, and then I don't know when solds came in, but probably 2013, 2014, I start remember being able to see them. I mean, I still deal with suppliers today who don't know solds are a thing. So it's
Wow.
beautiful to, but so I built an everything store up to maybe 6 or 7 thousand, and that was good. That was fun. I say fun, like it wasn't really making money, but it was paying the bills. I had a smaller warehouse then. Um, and it was exciting because like you would every day was different. You didn't know what you were shipping, you didn't know what you were picking up. Like, don't get me wrong, there's times where I'd have to go and scramble to get a box. I
Mm-hmm.
ran out of bubble wrap. Like I was stuffing things with newspaper. Like it was awful from a process type of view. And if you could see me now, like the processes, how tight they are compared to then, you'd think it's a totally different person. But I enjoy those days, looking back at those days, because like we found out we were on our first kid in 2015. Um, so then it was kind of sink or swim for me then, because I was still doing the building. I was like, this can only take me so far. Don't get me wrong, like you can build a beautiful business in that, but it's backbreaking work for the next 50 years. And like I've already had a taste of eBay, and I remember it quite poignantly. We were working on site. It was -3. We needed water to put a cement mix in, and the water was frozen over. So we had to wait for the temperature to rise so the ice could melt so we can get water. And it was 8:30. We'd been on site since 7. And I worked with my father. I did, and I'd probably sold about £200 worth of stuff that morning. And the phone was going off the cha-chings. And he just looked at me. He said, "What are you doing? Like, that's what you need to be doing." And that was one of the trigger points that tied into finding out we were on a kid, and it was like that was the best motivation to go. But that's when I started getting serious. That's when I started kind of stopped doing eBay and started treating it like a business then. So like I figured out that the thing I could get most of was clothes. So I started buying clothes from, I had a supplier who I found on eBay, funny enough, buying ties, but he also did clothes, and he said, I can get you these clothes. So he used to send me messages, photos of what he could get. And it was all kind of decent-ish stuff, ish. I say, I say with tongue in cheek now because it's totally different to what I sell now, but it was kind of stuff you could sell for £10 to £15, and the buy cost was £2. So I just threw fire on that, and we built a store. I took on an employee. We built a store up to £12,000. Sorry, 12,000 items. It was probably turning over maybe 150, £200,000 a year, but I wasn't making any money. Like there was so many leakage points. I was paying. It was my brother who was my employee. He was getting the money. Like I
Sure.
was
Sure.
just about covering my personal bills and the warehouse bills. Um, but it was close. It was really close. Looking at my business now, that form of the business was really close to where I am now, process wise, mindset of doing it. But it wasn't until I'll never forget. It was like the 30th of July, 2022. We've just gone through COVID. Like I hear your story of COVID now, like how you threw fuel to the fire and just went for it. like I'm quite embarrassed to say I went the opposite. So the government were pouring out money. If you had premises, they paid you sort of grants, they paid you self-employment grants. And I kind of went in the reverse and just thought, well, there's no point doing any work. We may as well just live off this. And it wasn't until coming out of that end of 2022 where the money dried up. The eBay is pretty much dead by this point, and it is just about by the fingernails, like covering all the expenses, all the bills, with hardly any money to reinvest. But like, I looked at my missus and I said, we're going to have to find jobs here. Like, we're going to have to fill those application forms out. And I'm like, what can I do now? Like, can I go back on site? But then I don't enjoy that. She's never really worked too much. She's worked factory jobs. Like, we're not skilled workers. We're both going to have to go back into the workforce to cover enough to cover our mortgage, to cover all the expenses with two kids. And then I'd always listen to like your podcast, the free part that was on YouTube, and I was like, this guy thinks exactly how I do, but he's just done it with more conviction. And I kind of like didn't believe it. It's, so to speak, like I didn't believe it was possible because I thought I work all the hours under the sun and I don't get those results. You've got this guy here saying he sells 800 grand, a million, $1.2 million. And I was like, if that was possible, I would have worked it out. That's kind of the mindset I went. So it was my missus who talked me into joining it, to joining your group. And mate, I thought if we join it, because you used to have to pay 2 months up front. It was like £60. It was a lot of money for me. And I thought if we join it and it doesn't work, we'll cancel and we'll get the second part of it back anyway. So we done it. I asked one question about title structure. You told me the answer. I looked at my store. I think it was sitting at about 6,000 items. I've actually got a screenshot. That's one thing I've done. I've kept screenshots every single week of my 90-day total. I think it was 6,000 items with a 90-day total of about 13 grand. It was nothing. And I just listened to the title structure. I listened to the photos. I'm one of them people who, once I got something in my head, I do it. So I think it was, like I said, the 20 something of July I joined. I went into every single listing. I took every single listing down for a start.
Okay.
The next 5 days, I must have had about 4 hours sleep between the 5 days, rephotoing. These items were quite junky as well. These weren't great items, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Rephotoing, retitling, filling out all the item specifics that, like you say, that are actually relevant to that item, adjusting the price according to solds. And guess what happened? Like, I sold pretty much everything, which then it was kind of a hack, because I think people could still do this now if you've got a store full of junk. Do the photos properly, do the titles properly, fill out the item specifics, put it at a proper price, cash it in, and then use that money to go and buy something better. And that's exactly what I did, mate. And like I said, it was 1st of August I joined the group. My business has just exploded month on month. Like, if you look at the figures that go up, it's exploded month on month. And don't get me wrong, there's still been tweaks in there. Like, I may have gone from a £12 ASP when I first joined. That dipped down to like 9 something when I was clearing. But then it grew to 16, to 18, to 25. And now I think we're mid-30s now, all based on cashing in the junk, doing things properly, and then just buying better items. And that's something that will never not be relevant. That will never not ring true. So yeah, it's a bit of a journey, but that kind of takes me to how I run what I run now.
So again, a lot of people in the story is very relatable. They have items in their store that are not selling. And like we talk about a lot in the group, everything has a price in which it'll sell with today. But before you go down that path, make sure the listing is absolutely perfect. If the listing is perfect and the item still refuses to sell, then odds are it's a pricing issue, meaning that if you lower the price, the item will have a better chance of selling. But if the listing is not perfect, if the title structure is not correct and not optimized, if the keywords are not, pertinent keywords that are targeted to people that will actually convert, then the price is really irrelevant because no one can find the item. Like, you have to be able to speak a language in which eBay can translate it for the customer. Like eBay is like an intermediary, like a translation device. The customer searches something, eBay translates it, and then you have to be able to match that, and it has to go both ways. Otherwise, your item cannot be seen, cannot be found. And there's a lot of items on eBay, and sometimes we do this in the morning call where I'll do some searches and find stores that have really good stuff, and they've marked it down so much because eBay is unable to translate or find what the item is because the title is not correct, the title is not optimized, it lacks keywords, it's just a very poor listing, very poor presentation. And these stores, you could go in and snipe everything for pennies on the dollar and turn around and list it right back on eBay correctly, and then you can make a bunch of money. Like these stores are everywhere. It takes me less than 3 minutes to find one every single time that we do the exercise when we're searching eBay. And it's just it's not a matter of sometimes, good items. Sometimes people have good items and they just don't know how to do them correctly on eBay. Sometimes people have bad items and don't know how to do them correctly on eBay, and that's even more dangerous. But just take us through a little bit of the process of, like you said, clearing out the stuff that was not good. And people ask me the question this a lot. And I said, every single time one of those not good items sell, it is your duty and obligation to replace it with something better. And this is a long-term thing. This takes time. This could take a year in order to cycle through your store of items that were not good. And it's okay not to have good items today, but we cannot have not good items forever. Like we need to learn, and the more we learn, the more we earn. So you are constantly trying to find better brands. You're constantly trying to find better sources. You're constantly trying to educate yourself on keywords, so on and so forth. But kind of culling the store and replacing the bad items with better items, this is a lengthy process. It is a very trying process, but it's something that ultimately must be done.
Yeah, 100%. Look, don't get me wrong, the items weren't top tier, but they should have still sold. And then as soon as I go into the group, I learned the power of keywords. And then when you start going through the solds, you start seeing the same items that I have in my sold that don't sell. Look, photos will only do so much. A good item will
Mm-hmm.
still sell with a rubbish photo.
That's right.
As long as you fill out enough item specifics and the title, it will still be found as well. But like these items that I was trying to sell were so heavily saturated, the market was so flooded with them. The only way to stand out was keywords. So learning those keywords and developing, like you say, a Rolodex of not so much brands, but of keywords which fit. Like, because a lot of the brands, a lot of the items were similar, but then mixing and matching, trying out a few different ones for similar items, and then seeing that worked. So then changing the rest of them to that, and then they sell. Like I said, it's a necessary evil, and it's not something that I could have waited for because, like I said, we were at rock bottom money wise. Like we needed to make this work. So I just spent 4 or 5 days open to close fixing this, and like, I can't believe how powerful eBay is as, like you say, a vehicle to multiply your money. But mate, as soon as I fixed those keywords, changed the photos, put the title properly, and put a proper price, like my store shrunk. Within 3 months, it was cut in half, and I was still listing like 20 a day. So I was listing 20 a day, selling 40, 50 a day. Like it really showed me the power, I think mainly of keywords. And even to this day now, I I don't tend to sell really, really high end brands. Like I know my high end brands, if I see them, I pick them up. But a lot of what I sell is just everyday stuff. I buy a lot based on style that I'm then able to keyword out. And I think a lot of my sales come through keywords because I sell basic brands, which in the store maybe are only 40, £50. And I'm able to get 25 to 35 pre-owned because I know all the right keywords.
Yeah, and there's even some examples that you've showed me where you're able to sell items for more money pre-owned than they are in the store because you are targeting and going after the right customer, which is absolutely everything. So, when it comes to the business and getting to 100,000 in sales is achievable by just about everybody. And Hanley had a good topic yesterday for the 100K call about like different bottlenecks and things that prevent people from going to one level to the other. So getting to 100K is most likely strictly due to just a lot of discipline. You got to get your listings up. And if you are disciplined enough to, list 200, 300, $400 worth a day, of items that generally will sell through maybe in 180 days, like getting to $100,000 in sales is not super incredibly difficult. And I think most people can get to that with a good schedule, a pretty good knowledge of brands, a good understanding of sell through, and just discipline of getting it done. To get to 300K, what would you say can get the person from 100K to 300K? What were the biggest changes that you had to do to, I guess, get from 100K to 300K?
For me, with the 100K, and I mean this like in the greatest respect, it's easy to do, but because it is so easy, you make it hard. And I still fall into this trap now to this day. So everything when you first do it is hard. So if you're doing 10 a day or 15 a day to get to your 100,000, at first, for the first week, it's uncomfortable. You haven't done that many. You need to source more, blah, 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 blah. As you move 2 or 3 weeks down the line, you start realizing you get your photoing done in 30 minutes, you get your listing done in 30 minutes, you get your sourcing done in 2 or 3 hours, but your day's wrapped up in 4 or 5 hours. That leaves a lot of time to fill. And if you're like me, like I'm obsessed by this business, absolutely obsessed. So what I find myself doing when I start hitting these points, I kind of make my work stretch out longer because I love doing it.
Sure.
And then, so that's the 100K. It's the same to get to 200. It's hard at first. Your processes get refined. You get quicker. You get better sourcing, and that's how I got up to 300,000. And like it's not a million miles off where I am now. And this is why I've planned out to get to a million, and I've made a really big and hard goal for me because I have found myself doing the same thing as what I just said. Then my day, like I like getting up early to get my day done. So I start at 5:30. I'm in the unit around 5:45. First thing I do is my photos because it's the part I least enjoy. But if I do it first thing, it's out of the way. I do it quickest. There's no phone calls. There's no text at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Sure.
So at the moment, I do about 50 to cover the weekend. And that takes about an hour, hour and 15, hour and 20. Then I'll list them, same about an hour and 20. And then I'll do my shipping and my day's done. Like all I've got to do then is find another 35 items, which if I'm going to charity shops, I'm probably sourcing about 8 an hour. If I'm online, it's about 12 an hour. And boot sales a little bit different because they're only really on the weekend at the moment here. They can be up to 20 an hour I get at boot sale. But what I find myself doing is the day, sometimes, most days is done by 10:30 a.m. Like what do you do for the rest of the day if this is what I'm limiting myself to? So
Sure.
that's why I've set this big goal. Like it's not going to be straight away. Nothing is ever straight away. But from the 1st of April, I'm moving up to 50 a day from 35. So it's the biggest jump that I've done. I normally keep it really safe and slow. I move up 5, 6, 7. I'm deliberately making it hard because the cash flow is not an issue. Like the money's there, it's just sitting waiting to be deployed. I need something to fill the day. Like there's only so much research you can do. Once you know, like don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, I'm not saying I know everything, but there's
Sure.
only so many hours you can sit behind the computer and learn new brands, new styles. I just want to be doing work which results in money at the end of it. So moving to 50 a day 1st of April, like I know from past experience, I won't sell 50 a day straight away. I'll probably be netting around 10 a day for the next 3 months, which will grow the store to a size where it then should mature and sell around 50 a day. Um, but from that point of view, like just going back a little bit, that is what I find. Everything is hard at the start until you've mastered it. Then it becomes easy, and then you become complacent, and then you end up stretching it out. And as soon as I start feeling these trigger points, for me, that's time to move up. Now, as long as everything is in a line with, sales are in the ballpark. So if you're listing 35, at the moment, I think I'm selling 32 a day. So it's more than comfortable enough to move up. But as soon as I start feeling these trigger points where I start becoming I'm not saying lazy, but maybe a little bit complacent, and I start dragging things out. Maybe 1 or 2 days a week where the 5 o'clock alarm goes off, and I think I can get it done later if I want to. Perhaps you snooze
Sure,
it. You know what I mean? So
sure.
for me, it's hard. You find how to do it better. You move up, and that's how I got to the 300K.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. They say like if you want something done, give it to a busy person and like they'll get it done. And the people that have, 2 hours worth of work are generally the people that will stretch it out and let it take 8 hours to get 2 hours worth of work done. And everyone likes to have a spreadsheet and track all of their stuff, but I would dare people to track how much time they waste in a day. And that would probably be the biggest, most egregious column on any spreadsheet out there is just how long are you stretching the day when it could have been done in half the time? And like you're saying, if you're going to put in however many hours, you got to have that much productivity to show for it. And when things do get better naturally, when your processes do get more streamlined, when mechanically it becomes second nature, it does speed up very quickly. And then like what do you do with the rest of the day, especially if you enjoy doing this, if you love doing this. And I think as you were talking, I think that that's something that kind of just hit me. I think that people love doing eBay, they love reselling, and for some people, like they do want to do it all day. So maybe that is a small part of why they make it stretch out. But if you're going to stretch it out, like let's have 8 hours of results if we're going to put in 8 hours worth of time. So that's very, very good. The plan sounds solid. And if anyone is going to pull it off, it's definitely going to be you. What I want to talk about a little bit is that you are in the UK. eBay in the UK is under a bit of attack from places like Vinted, so on and so forth. And even though in the United States we don't have something like this to worry about, I think it's a good discussion. I think it's something to be mindful of because in the United States, the landscape can be shaken just like it has been in the UK. And if we just go into this, oblivious or blind and not even put any thought to it, I think that that is a disservice to everyone in America and our business. So in the UK, there is a website called Vintage, which is kind of like eBay and Instagram in one. It is very social shopping. It's very scrollable. It's very easy to list. Takes 10 seconds to list an item. Maybe you list it, there's a couple things, and it's good to go. And like I was talking to Arwen, and he's like, you know what? People go to the barbershop and they don't scroll Instagram, they scroll Vinted. Like that's the go-to. Like if you're gonna doom scroll, you doom scroll Vinted. And it kind of has shaken eBay pretty well. And in my experience, eBay doesn't do anything until they begin to get threatened. There's not a lot of like innovation. Don't get me wrong, they've done a tremendous job at innovating in the last 5 years, but prior to that, hardly nothing. So like they have all the tools now, they have newsletters, buyer groups, offers to watchers, all the insights, all tremendous stuff. But like historically speaking, they don't really move until they start to lose market share. So, like in America, they have some websites where you can sell guitars. Then they start decreasing fees on guitars. StockX came, started kicking their butt in shoes. They started decreasing fees in shoes. They have a watch website. I think it's called like Chrono 45 or something. They started making move in the watch category. Well, in the UK, they have this app that's making moves in the clothing category, amongst others. And eBay is making, some serious concessions where if they didn't have to, they wouldn't. So, what do you see from the landscape of Vinted and eBay going forward? And I know, a year or so ago, we were talking about, eBay is the biggest bully on the block. Maybe it's just a matter of, them just kind of squeezing them out slowly, just leveraging what they have a little bit. But Vinted looks like they're sticking around and it does look like they have some staying power. But this can be like a cautionary tale for the folks in the United States where like, we are eBay sellers. I believe in eBay in the United States, and I think you believe in eBay in the UK, but at the end of the day, it's not the end all be all. All the money is green everywhere, but kind of like take us through the market, what it looks like, and kind of shifts that are happening, and I guess how you're positioning yourself going forward.
Yeah. I'll just go back a little bit. So Vinted only came onto my radar probably about 4, 5 years ago. It's been out for maybe 7 or 8 years in the UK. It didn't gain any traction until about maybe 3.5, 4 years ago. I had a very interesting conversation at a dinner that eBay hosted a few months back with one of the top guys there, and he said eBay UK wanted to buy Vinted 7 years ago to just squash them because that's what they do with everything else. Like you said with the watch game, they basically control every pre-owned market. But the US site said no to it. Basically, they thought there's no threat. Fast forward 4 or 5 years, the way Vinted works, the way eBay works, is built on so much old technology, so much old infrastructure. Vinted are nimble, they're new. Everything's app based. Nobody uses Vinted on the website. Everything is app based. They're able to implement changes instantly. Where I was speaking to another guy at eBay over from the States, and he said, like, a change within eBay, like the minimum it takes is 3 months. Like for
Sure.
anything minor, like they've had issues with offers where somebody sends an offer and there's a few different ways offers come through now. Like to implement a change, it takes a minimum of 3 months. And because it's three different things that they're trying to change, they fix one, they break another, it takes 6 months. They fix another, it takes 9 months. Whereas Vinted are nimble, they're able to make changes. And like from a user standpoint, I haven't sold on there, but I've bought on there. And it is so easy. It's so easy to buy. It's so easy to make bundles. Like if you are eBay and you're looking at this, you're looking at something which is, everyone shops on mobile now. It is so easy to use. And then you've got eBay, which at best is clunky. It is getting better, and I will say they are putting a lot of money into it, but they're building on broken technology, on old technology, old infrastructure, which is hard. Um, Look, I still back eBay. They're still the biggest dog in the game. Do you know what I mean? They've got just so much market share still. Even though, like I've looked on Therapy, and it looks to me that the pre-owned women's has moved totally to Vinted. The drop off in Therapy is absolutely crazy to see. You can see it, just the decline. But men's, it stayed steady, and if anything, is getting more. Now, what I tell people, and I've said this to eBay as well, that Vinted is good if you just want to browse and you're not looking for anything in particular. And I think that ties into a lot of ways that like women shop. They're impulse shoppers. They're on the phone. They look, oh, I'll have that. It's only £4 on video. Boom. Whereas I know how I shop and I know how my customer shops. They want something. It doesn't have to be exact, but they want it in the ballpark. So they will search eBay and they will find the one they want. They don't mind paying a little bit more. Whereas on Vinted, even the search function on there, it'll pull up a load of different stuff which you're not looking for. So I think Vinted are nimble and new enough to make the right changes. Another big thing, which like eBay can't really sell because it's not sexy enough. Like the customer service on eBay is absolutely untouchable compared to Vinted. There's no humans that work in Vinted, as far as I know. It's all bots. It's all AI. Like is so cut and dry. If there's something wrong with an item, you have to go through a whole process. And then if they challenge it, you've pretty much lost. There's no protections. Whereas eBay got the buyers back, they got the sellers back. And I said to eBay, like, perhaps this is what you need to sell. And they rightly told me that. How do you sell that? You don't do a whole advert, TV marketing campaign saying, like, we're safe to sell on. We got great customer service. Nobody cares. Do you know what I mean? They just want the product. So I really don't know how it's going over here. Like, I stay loyal to eBay. They put me in this position. I back them to come out on top. But like, competition is a good thing. Like, it
Yeah.
can only be a good thing. If the only thing that comes out of this is eBay innovate and they become better because of it, that's a good thing. And look, I've had more interactions with eBay in the last 12 months than I ever have in my last 14 years selling on there. Like, they're aware of everything now, and they actively, like, I speak to people probably every other week. I get invited to things to go and talk about this. Like, we're on the field, we're selling day in, day out. We see how easy Vinted is and how clunky eBay is. Because like even now, like we're good at listing, we can do it within a minute. But if you're a new person, you can sell on Vinted, and like you said, it is 10, 15
Sure.
seconds. You put the photo in, you put your title, the title pulls all the specifics that they want. You just have to just make sure they're right. Put your price, job done. eBay, like you've got the required item specifics. You don't even know if you're selling in the right category. Vinted
Right.
automatically put it in the right category.
Right.
So I think eBay got a lot of innovating to do, but they've also got a lot of money. So I think they'll come out on top. But like I don't say that with any certainty over here.
Yeah, it's almost like sometimes, and especially in some clothing categories, you almost need like a PhD to do the listing because, like, what kind of sleeve is this? What kind of collar is this? And that is absolutely a barrier to entry. But also, like, with every situation, there's disadvantages and advantages. And with what they do in the UK, and with eBay like really conceding some stuff, like for a moment there, like they conceded all the fees, no fees, anything like that. And for you, like the thing that I like about you is that you'll ask a handful of questions per year, but every single question you ask is probably going to result in another $100,000. And when you ask a question, you take action. So without going too much into it, just talk about Q4 on eBay. We had a conversation, a quick conversation. And I said, if I was in the UK, this is what I would do. And you said 10-4. You did it. And what happened to your business in Q4 of this year?
Look, so I don't know what date it was. It was early October. They sent a publishment out saying that we're giving no fees for business sellers till the end of the year. Now, my initial thought was lovely little cash boost. It's a nice little pay rise, and then I thought like there's a gap here to get sales. So I think 99.9% of people just thought this is a lovely pay rise. Like we're going to say 15%, whatever the fee is. Lovely little Christmas bonus. So I racked my brain. I was like, I can offer the customer a bigger discount, which is one thing to do. I thought I'm going to come out on top if I do that. But then I thought like eBay not get any fees. eBay are going to be starving during this period. How can I give them something back? So I asked you the question what you would do. You said perhaps tweak with promoted listings a little bit. And trust me, like I was a low promoted listings. I think I was 2%. I didn't hardly touch it, but I just turned the volume up a little bit. And mate, I was still listing 35 a day that time. And like I can't comprehend. As soon as I pressed that button and tripled the promoted listings, I think one day I sold 87 things, mate. Like I averaged 55 sales a day. I think I messaged you saying I've had my record day on eBay, and then I messaged you 23 hours later. I've had a new record day,
Yeah.
and like it was crazy. But look, I enjoyed the ride. I'll tell you what happened in the new year. Then, like my store was absolutely decimated because I
Yeah.
asked you, do you think it's possible to sell out on eBay? On eBay, and you said no, never. And like, I'm not saying I got close, but my store got cut in half, like right to the core. And it's taken me it's taken me till now to get back to where I was, which has been lovely. I was a looter in a riot, as you say. I saw a little opportunity. I double checked with the boss. The boss gave me the green light, and then we just run. And I'm not sure many other people did that. Like there's gaps there. eBay got tools that they want you to use, and I think the most
Absolutely.
powerful one is promoted listings. Now, look, you can't go promoting at 20% if your profit margins don't allow it. It doesn't need like if you've got good items, it doesn't need that much as well. It just needs a little. It's just like the icing on the cake. Do you know what I mean? It's just putting
Mhm.
it in a few more places, and I saw how powerful it was firsthand, and like it was absolutely beautiful, crazy, scary. The shipping, there was 2 ships a day. Like I got to taste a little bit of probably nowhere near where you were, but like when you were 100, a day, I got to experience a little bit of that, and it was like, wow, this is crazy. I don't know any other words. It was lovely, scary, crazy.
Absolutely. And you were like, if you were in the UK, what would you do? I said, this is what I would do. And back to back to back to back to back, record day, record day, record day. Now, Arwen he mentioned something like this after he came back from America, and he said, "Mate, once you taste that money, you never want to lose that
No,
taste." So you've tasted $100,000 within a couple of weeks. Now
yeah,
what happens?
I tell you what, right, the first 3 or 4 weeks of January was horrible, right? I was all over the place because you're having all of these sales. You know it's not sustainable. Like if eBay
You're right.
give
And
no
we talked
fees,
about that before. I said,
yeah,
get it while you can.
yeah.
And you got to cash out. You'll get a lot of money. It might be tough for a couple of weeks, but you'll bounce back. But it's
Perhaps you
worth it.
can like rationalize that better than me, but I was there in the game watching me do record day, record day, record day. eBay bring fees back. I have to reduce it down. Boom. Like the charts were skyscrapers and then little terraced houses. It was horrible. And like I had many sleepless nights where I would just wake my missus up and just say, "What are we gonna do? Like, I need that again." And she said, "Just do what you did before that, and then if something comes up again, we can go again." So all we're doing is just building it back. We finally got back now, probably to the standing we were prior to it, selling the same amount we were, still living a beautiful life. It's a beautiful business. With that in the back of my head, that like I want to get there, but I don't want to get there. I'm not saying it was a cheat code because it kind of was, but I want to get it naturally, organically. I just want to
Yeah.
sustainably because like I can't find 87 things a day at the moment. Like one day I will be able to find 87 things and I can do that for real. But like the 87 sales, David, that sticks with me. Like I joke with Alan, like that day we ate croissants for breakfast. Do you know what I mean? It was a good day, that one was. But yeah, like it was really hard for 3 weeks and then you just knuckle down and you just see eBay recover. Like I've never seen something like it. Like it just reverts to type. Yeah, it wasn't quite where it was, but then 6 weeks go past, your store's growing, it's netting 5 or 6 a day, and before you know it, you're back where you are. And this last 2 weeks have probably been my most consistent. Every day's the same. I sell 33, 32 items a day. The money's the same. It's beautiful being able to predict it. And I still find it crazy to this day. Like my business is grinding all day long, 24 hours a day to produce me 33 sales, X amount of money. And then the clock strikes midnight and then it's back to zero and it has to start again.
Yeah.
And there's no effort in it for it. Like that's just his job. And I find it beautiful. I just love watching it start at zero and then build back up to where it needs to get, cash out, start again. It's one of the most beautiful things to watch. Watch that graph. I look at it probably 4 or 5 times a day and just make sure I hit checkpoints where I'm at. And yeah, it's lovely.
Absolutely. And there's no better feeling than waking up. You got a little jangle in your pocket, you made some money. Saturday and Sunday, you're still making money.
Yeah,
Um, the opportunity for 24/7, 365, sales and money once you get your store to a level where it does have consistency. That's really kind of when it struck me and say, like, this is an opportunity unlike any other opportunity that I have. And when I built the store to the largest that it was, I was getting like one sale every 6 minutes. So like it was just constant ping. And that wasn't even offers. Like I was probably getting an offer every 3 minutes and then countering some. And so like the upside was even way more past that. But like you said, it was predictable. It was, routine. Every hour, it didn't matter. I was going to clock 10 or 15 sales per hour, whether I was asleep, whether it was Sunday night at 8 o'clock. Let me tell you this, when my store was really cooking, when I was world domination, Sunday evenings was unlike anything I've ever seen in my life. Sometimes I would sell 150 items in like a 4 hour window on Sunday evening. And like I would go to the warehouse, I would pack everything and I'd feel real good and be like, all right, we're all set for Monday. And then bang, those 4 hours would come between like 7 and 11. And I'd have 150 items sold. And sometimes you get some heavy hitters. And I remember one post on Instagram, like within I don't know, 45 minutes one day, I had like $5,000 in sales. And it was just like something I've never experienced in my life is when you can get that predictability once you build the machine where when you wake up, you've already made so much money. It's unbelievable. On Sunday night, when the whole world is kind of asleep and hanging out, like you're making money. It is unlike anything I've ever experienced in the world, and really one of the most powerful things I've experienced, because I've talked about this a little bit, all the way back to the very first item that I sold on eBay. I bought a T-Mobile Sidekick. It was a mobile phone. I bought it for 35, sold it for 70. So in my mind, doubled my money. That taught me that I didn't need a boss. I didn't need a manager. I didn't need to sign a contract. I didn't need to have a schedule. I didn't need to sell my time to someone else for $10 an hour. I didn't need to ask permission to do something if my son had a school play, or if he had a Christmas show, or if he had a baseball game or a tournament. I didn't have to ask anybody anything, and I didn't have to ask anybody permission for nothing. If I wanted to do something with my time, I could. And if I wanted to make money, I could. No one was in charge of whether or not I was going to make money, because I unlocked the superpower that I had the power to manufacture and produce money. And before I sold an item on eBay, I always thought someone else had to give me the money, and I needed somebody else permission to do it.
I got a question on that, right? What something you said just now about like where you had to go and ship, you had to go because like something you said on an old podcast a couple of months back. I listened to it, but you said you couldn't really go more than like an hour away from your home
Yeah.
because if a man went down, like you've got to step into the game. Like knowing that now, would you still do it all over again? If you start to go back to nothing and you know the sacrifices you've had to make, would you still do it all again?
Yeah, because I have no other alternative.
No.
Like this is the best that I could do.
Yeah.
And I am immensely thankful for the business that was built, even though it sucked. I'll tell you straight up, it sucked. And I would never advise anybody to put the amount of time and the long days, the lack of sleep, early mornings, late nights. I would never advise anybody to do that. But I was stuck. I was 18 years old and I had a son, and I had nobody to depend on. So like I was truly stuck. And eBay, 15 years later, we don't have to worry about anything anymore. And I've been able to invest this money into other things, other businesses, other investments. I got it sitting in the bank collecting interest. Like without the power of eBay and the vehicle of being able to multiply the money, I don't know where I would be, honestly, man. Like I know a lot of people say like all of my friends are dead or in jail, but like I'm dead serious. I have two friends left. They're all dead or in jail. I used to do a bunch of knuckleheaded stuff when I was a kid. And the day kind of my life changed. My son, he was probably about 3 years old. I was still going out. And there was a 15-minute shootout at a party I was at, literally 15 minutes. And when you're standing there for 15 minutes and there's bullets flying, and the car that you're standing in front of has bullet holes in it, and I have a son at home,
Game changers, though.
15 minutes. That's a long time when you're sitting there when there's bullets flying. Like police helicopters were overhead and nobody cared. Like they made documentaries about that night and the people that were involved in that, and I was there. And it was 15 minutes. And it all started because one of the dudes I rolled up to the party with got fresh with another dude. 15 minutes I was sitting there. And during that time, I was like, I can't be doing this no more. I can't be out here no more. I need something better. And that's when I made the decision to go to a vocational school, learn how to fix computers. I ended up quitting CVS. I got a job at Circuit City, which is kind of like Best Buy. And then 2 weeks later, Circuit City closed. They handed me my first paycheck and also said, we're going out of business. So I wrote out the liquidation. And that's when I found eBay and found that I had the ability to manufacture my own money. I never looked back, because when you come from nothing, you have nothing to lose. Like, what's the worst that can happen? I go back to that. What's the worst that can happen? My son goes back to sleeping on a couch because I'm renting a room and I don't even have a bed for him. I had nothing to lose. So, like, I don't gamble with my money. I make sure bets with the money because I've already gambled enough with my life. I've done it enough. So, like, eBay is the surest thing once you figure out the game. And when you figure out the game, it's an automatic jackpot. So for me, I know what type of items I'm looking for. I know what kind of business I'm looking to build. And I built the business that I wanted to build. We had a year long, decade and a half long plan where, you know what, my son's going to be finished. I'm going to put in the time. He's going to be graduated. My wife and I both have worked very, very hard on all of the businesses that we do have. But like, even if I got hit by a bus tomorrow, or I got hit in a shootout that's 15 minutes long, my wife is good, my son is good, my mom is good, everyone is good. Is mission accomplished, all thanks to eBay showing me that I have the ability to manufacture and make money, and also showing me opportunity. So last week I went to Las Vegas to do a little thing, and after that we went to the Grand Canyon. None of that would be possible without eBay, because I wouldn't have the means, the finances, the opportunity, the time to do it. So I was immensely thankful and grateful. I was able to bring my son, my wife. We went to the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon is in the middle of nowhere. There's one small city there that has 1,600 people. It's the closest to the Grand Canyon, still about 45 minutes away. Just looking at the world through the lens of opportunity, even though that city is in the middle of nowhere, I'm talking like nowhere. We didn't even have cell phone reception. My phone had nothing, nothing. It's in the middle of nowhere, but it's so the Grand Canyon is about 2 hours away from Las Vegas. Las Vegas is pretty densely populated. The city we were staying in is about 45 minutes away from the Grand Canyon. So even though it's 45 minutes away from the Grand Canyon, which is nothing, it's an hour and 40 minutes away from Las Vegas. If I lived in that city, I would go to Las Vegas 2 times a week, 4 times a month, and I would stock up and I would bring everything back to that city. And even though there's 1,600 people, it doesn't look very fancy. It's not wealthy. They have no cell phone reception. I would save my money. I would buy a plot of land there for $3,000 for an acre. And you know what I would do? I would set up a place where people can store RVs and boats, because people who like to travel and do RVs, they like to go to the Grand Canyon. I would charge people to store their RVs with $3,000. After that, I would buy another plot of land, and with 1,600 people in that city, I would set up my own flea market, and I would charge people $10 to come over, because they don't have nothing to do on Saturday, nothing to do on Sunday, and everyone looking to make a couple extra dollars. So with another $5,000, I would set up a plot of land where there's no trees anyways, because it's in the desert, and save up my money, afford to build a little pop-up where they get the shade, and I would have my own flea market, and I would charge people to go there, and I would source at my own flea market. And after I saved up enough money after that, I would start building and erecting my own kind of little outhouses, storage buildings, because there was one in there, it was brand new, and they had a bunch of cars sitting there. So obviously there's demand. So within a couple of years, I would be the president of a city with 1,600 people in it, and I would make more money than anybody in the state of Arizona, because I know opportunity. I have seen opportunity where, so what, Las Vegas is an hour and 40 minutes away. Let me go to this big city, ravish the city, take it back to where the cost of living is nothing, find someone that wants to work for $8 an hour, put them to work, make some money, buy a plot of land, park some RVs and boats on it. If there ain't no RVs, we're running a flea market, and then buy little buildings so people can come and store their stuff, and then start buying as many buildings and as many houses as I can in that city. And I would have more money than anybody in the state of Arizona, because I understand opportunity. Thank you to eBay.
Sounds like a plan, mate. Have you got it all mapped out? It sounds like you're going for that.
I had it all mapped up as soon as I rolled into the city. Like, what does this place not have, and what can I use eBay to multiply my money to deliver to this place?
I think we can use the same way of thinking for opportunities for eBay, whether that be sourcing, whether that
Of
be
course.
like, it just takes thinking outside the box. Like today, like there's a few ways to source in the UK. We got car boots, we got charity shops, we got sniping online. I was just doing a little bit of research on an item that I got in hand, and I thought I wanted to check how much it is retail. I went on the company's website, and they're actually clearing them 80% off. So do you know what, I just cleaned them out as well. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like there's opportunity. You just need to think. Just think a little bit differently and that will set you so far apart from 99% of people.
So far apart. Just me thinking outside of the box has made me tens of millions of dollars. Like, the ruler has made me tens of millions of dollars in terms of productivity of an extra hour per day. You know, everything that I've had to develop for my business, you look in the backgrounds of people's videos, the box and skew system, that was my idea. Someone else delivered the message, that was my idea. The inverted flat lay, that's my idea. Someone else delivered the message. Every single thing that I've had to invent for the business, my idea, resellers worldwide use it and make so much money based on it because I had to think outside of the box. One of the best comments that has ever been left on my channel is that this guy sells millions of dollars. He's number one in the entire world, and his entire business is built on tubing, cardboard, and spare wood. That's it. You just got to think outside of the box, and you have to understand opportunity. Like I said, I went to that city. They don't have nothing going on. Nothing. There's tumbleweeds rolling by. I would go to Las Vegas. I would save up enough money to buy a plot of land for $3,000, and then I would bring the sourcing to me. I would create the opportunity. Here's a flea market, put a sign in the road, 1,600 people. It ain't going to be long to the word travels that, oh, go to Uncle Tech's flea market on Saturday at 9 a.m. I'd have first pick, and people would be paying me to have first pick. You have to create your own opportunity. A lot of the things that I do, I've created the opportunity. So it doesn't matter where you are, you need to create your opportunity. So down here, Arwen came. 2 weeks later, I have a guy giving me 100 pairs of Hokas 3 times a week. That guy has been at the flea market for a long time. I didn't start going to that flea market until Arwen came. I was not the first person to see this person. Why, after 3 weeks, I got this person bringing me 200, 300 pairs of Hokas. That wasn't the first time that guy went to that flea market. I wasn't the first one to buy from him, but I've cultivated it and created this opportunity for myself. There are people that have bought from that person that I know. I didn't know they bought from that person. They used to pick and choose here and there. And the guy came up to me at the flea market and said, you know what? That guy you buy all the Hokas and On Clouds from, I fumbled the bag. I used to buy from that guy, but now he has nothing for me anymore. But 3 weeks later, that guy's got hundreds of pairs. Why? I was not the first person. It's not his first day at the flea market, but I figured out an opportunity, and I'm going to exploit the opportunity to the best of my ability. And I think that there's opportunity around us everywhere, but we have to create the opportunity. People think Florida is the land of the great. Why everybody in Florida not a bajillionaire? You have to create the opportunity. UK, you guys have 68 million people. Create the opportunity. Australia has 22 million people. There's people down there getting it done as well. We have to create our opportunity. And if we do not create the opportunity and we want something to fall into our lap, you're going to be wrong and you're going to be right, because you have not created your opportunity, and you're right by saying there is no opportunity here, and you're going to be right and broke, and that's up to you. So you can either create your opportunity, go out and go get it, curate something, cultivate something, and farm something, think outside of the box, innovate something. Where's the innovation in reselling? It's not there. There's zero innovation. If you do not innovate, you're always going to be chasing behind. And I've said it 100 times. I've made a lot of money by being 5 or 10 years ahead.
Yeah, I completely agree, mate.
So talk to me, my man. Take us home. Leave us with some final words. I've talked too much during this episode, so leave us with some final words. As you know, I do appreciate you very, very much. I appreciate that you're a go-getter, and I appreciate when you do ask a question, you get after it and you make moves. And I appreciate that you know the urgency, sense the urgency of the situation, and if anyone's going to create an opportunity, I know it's going to be you. So I do appreciate you jumping on with us. And I know this is outside of your comfort zone, but I do appreciate, and I do think the story and the words will help. Always an interesting discussion. So leave the folks with some parting words, my man.
Thank you for the kind words, mate. I just want to double down with people. Like, I was nearly out of business until I started doing the things that you teach. Like, it's not just going to be other people that put you out of business. It's going to be AI. There's so much attacking us. Just make sure in a few years you're not sitting there thinking, look at the opportunity we had, because this is absolutely golden. And from my personal point of view, like, I have sacrificed way too much up to this point. to not do the £1 million next year. So I want to just be accountable to you, to everyone, when I say I'm going to do everything in my power to do that. Because like what I wanted to touch upon with you then is my kids get everything. My partner gets absolutely everything. Nobody wants for anything. The one thing that we can't really do is vacations, do holidays, because the same problem, I need to be here on hand. So that's why this £1 million next year is coming into play. Because if I can prove I can do that, I can then outsource the work. Because then I got £1 million business which can be outsourced, and then I can go and take them wherever I want in the world. So I just want to be accountable. I want people to just understand the opportunity is still there. It's still going to be there for 2, 3, 4 years. Get the money now, because it's not always going to be there.
I agree. And if we can position ourselves to take advantage of the things that are going to change in 2, 3, 4 years or sooner, we could utilize these tools, implement them into our business, and then we could be the ones that are the beneficial ones that are using them rather than the ones that aren't. I truly believe that those people are going to be swallowed up, and it can't be us, and it can't be the ones that are listening to this podcast. So heed the advice, listen to the advice. There's people on here every single week that are doing it, are crushing it. It is possible. It's not get rich quick. It's not overnight success, but I employ everybody to look for the opportunities and create your own opportunities. So thank you, as always, my man, for staying on with us. I appreciate it. Hopefully we could get you back on. I enjoyed the discussion, but I know you got a lot more to say and a lot more knowledge to give. So hopefully we get you back on, my man. But as always, be great. Thank you.